scene of Act 4. This scene is a little long and a little bit confusing, so just kind of stick with me. So Lady Macduff has just been murdered and the son, and now we jump over to England in the King's Palace, and it's Malcolm and Macduff talking.
Let us seek out some desolate shade, and there weep our sad bosoms empty.
Let us rather hold fast the mortal sword, and like good men, bestride our downfall in birthdom. Each new morn, new widows howl, new orphans cry, new sorrows strike heaven on the face, that it resounds as if it felt with Scotland and yelled out like syllable of dollar.
So Macduff is telling Malcolm, because obviously Malcolm's been in England longer than Macduff has, how bad it's getting in Scotland because of Macbeth. So every day he's saying something is worse.
What I believe, I'll wail. What know, believe. And what I can redress, as I shall find the time to friend, I will. What you have spoke, it may be so, perchance. This tyrant whose sole name blisters our tongues was once thought honest. You have loved him well. He has not touched you yet. I am young, but something you may deserve of him through me, and wisdom to offer up a weak, poor, innocent lamb to appease an angry god.
So Malcolm is saying, like, I've been affected by Macbeth. You really haven't. He's talking about his dad, although because of dramatic irony, we already know that actually Macduff has been affected.
I am not treacherous.
But Macbeth is. A good and virtuous nature may recoil in an imperial charge. But I shall crave your pardon. That which you are, my thoughts cannot transpose. Angels are bright still, though the brightest fell. Though all things foul would wear the brows of grace, yet grace must still look so.
All right, so that's a really important line. Angels are bright still, though the brightest fell. So that's an allusion with an A to the Bible. The brightest of angels in the Bible was Lucifer, who then was cast down by God and became the devil. So the connection here is even somebody who is loved and trusted can become the opposite of that. And that's exactly what happened to Macbeth. He was a hero, and then look where he is now.
Lost my hopes.
Perchance even there where I did find my doubts. Why, in that rawness, left you wife and child, those precious motives, those strong knots of love, without leave taking? I pray you, let not my jealousies be your dishonors, but mine own safeties. You may be rightly just, whatever I shall think.
Bleed, bleed, poor country, great tyranny, lay thou thy basis sure, for goodness dare not check thee. Wear thou thy wrongs, the title is feared. Fare thee well, Lord. I would not be the villain that thou think'st, for the whole space that's in the tyrant's grasp, and the rich East to boot.
He really loves Scotland, you can tell here. It's just personifying it like the country is bleeding.
Be not offended. I speak not as in absolute fear of you. I think our country sinks beneath the yoke. It weeps, it bleeds, and each new day a gash is added to her wounds. I think withal there would be hands uplifted in my right, and here from gracious England have I offer of goodly thousands. But for all this, when I shall tread upon the tyrant's head, or wear it on my sword, yet my poor country shall have more vices than it had before, more suffer and more sundry ways than ever by him that shall succeed.
Okay, so this is where it gets confusing. Sorry, I have a cookie in my mouth. Malcolm says that he has a lot of vices, and basically he starts to say that he wouldn't be a good king. And so a vice is something that's like a bad habit, like smoking or something. And so Malcolm starts to say, like, I have a lot of vices, so kind of pay attention to that.
What should he be?
It is myself, I mean, in whom I know all the particulars of vice so grafted that, when they shall be opened, black Macbeth will seem as pure as snow, and the poor state esteem him as a lamb being compared with my confineless harms.
So once people find out what my vices are, when they compare me to Black Macbeth, Macbeth will seem as white as snow, meaning like innocent. So Malcolm's trying to say, I'm worse than Macbeth.
Not in the legions of horrid hell can come a devil more damned in evils to top Macbeth.
I grant him bloody, luxurious, avaricious, false, deceitful, sudden, malicious smacking of every sin that has a name, but there's no bottom, none, in my voluptuousness.
Okay, so the first thing he says is, all right, fine, Macbeth is all of these things, but my first vice is that, he's saying he's lusty. So basically, like, he's a player, there's not enough women for him in all of Scotland.
Your wives, your daughters, your matrons, and your maids could not fill up the cistern of my lust, and my desire all continent impediments would o'erbear that did oppose my will. Better Macbeth than such a one to reign.
Boundless intemperance in nature is a tyranny. It hath been the untimely emptying of the happy throne and fall of many kings. But fear not yet to take upon you what is yours. You may convey your pleasures in a spacious plenty, and yet seem cold. The time you may so hoodwink. We have willing dames enough. There cannot be that vulture in you to devour so many as will to greatness dedicate themselves, finding it so inclined.
So Macduff says, hey, don't worry about it. There are plenty of women in Scotland. So he's trying to talk him into it and say, just because you're saying that, you get around a little bit, it doesn't matter. You'll still be a good king.
With this, there grows in my most ill-composed affection such a staunchless avarice that, were I king, I should cut off the nobles from their lands, desire his jewels and this other's house, and my more having would be as a sauce to make me hunger more, that I should forge quarrels unjust against the good and loyal, destroying them for wealth.
This avarice sticks deeper, grows with more pernicious root than summer-seeming lust, and it hath been the sword of our slain kings. Yet do not fear. Scotland hath foisons to fill up your will of your mere own. All these are portable with your grace's weight.
All right, so the second thing Malcolm says about, his vices is that he's greedy. I want and I want and I want. And Macduff also comes back at that and says there's plenty of stuff in Scotland to fill that vice, to like fill up your greed. Again, trying to convince him.
But I have none, the king becoming graces, as justice, verity, temperance, stableness, bounty, perseverance, mercy, lowliness, devotion, patience, courage, fortitude. I have no relish of them, but abound in the division of each several crime, acting in many ways. Nay, had I power, I should pour the sweet milk of concord into hell, uproar the universal peace, confound all unity on earth.
O Scotland, Scotland!
If such a one be fit to govern, speak. I am as I have spoken.
Okay, so this is the most important part. So Malcolm says, finally, for his vices, I don't have any of the things that are kind of like king traits, like sovereign traits. So, I'm not gracious, I'm not truthful, I'm not just, I'm not patient, I don't persevere, I'm not humble, devoted, any of the stuff. And so finally, Macduff hears all this and he just yells, oh, Scotland, Scotland, because he's so devastated that, even Malcolm saying he's not going to come back and kick Macbeth out. So then Malcolm poses this question. He says, so if you think that you would be better as king, speak now, basically. So he opens the door for Macduff to say, like, yeah, I want to be king. So really what we come to find out is this whole thing with Malcolm and Macduff has been Malcolm testing Macduff to see, because remember he said that thing about angels, right, where even the brightest of angels fell. So just because Macduff seems like a good guy doesn't mean that he actually is in reality. So all of this has been a test just to see if he would say, yeah, I want to become king. And so this is what he says.
Fit to govern? No, not to live. O nation miserable, with an untitled tyrant bloody sceptred, when shalt thou see thy wholesome days again? Since the truest issue of thy throne by his own interdiction stands theme his breed. The royal father was a most sainted king. The queen that bore thee oftener upon her knees than on her feet died every day she lived. Fare thee well. These evils thou repeat'st upon thyself have banished me from Scotland. O my breast, thy hope ends here.
So he says, like, fit to govern, like, nope, I don't want to be king, and basically saying, you know, like, he's so devastated and he, you know, he's never going to go back.
Macduff, this noble passion, child of integrity, hath from my soul wiped the black scruples, reconciled my thoughts to thy good truth and honor. Devilish Macbeth by many of these trains hath sought to win me into his power, and modest wisdom plucks me from over-credulous haste. But God above, deal between thee and me, for even now I put myself to thy direction, and unspeak mine own detraction. Here abjure the taints and blames I laid upon myself for strangers to my nature.
So this is where Malcolm comes clean and says, you know, Macduff, your noble answer has wiped away any suspicions that I might have of you not being a good guy. And so then he says,
I am yet unknown to woman. Never was forsworn, scarcely have coveted what was mine own, and at no time broke my faith. Would not betray the devil to his fellow, and delight no less in truth than life. My first false speaking was this upon myself. What I am truly is thine and my poor country's to command. Whither indeed, before thy here approach, old Seward, with 10,000 warlike men already at a point, was setting forth. Now we'll together, and the chance of goodness be like our warranted quarrel.
okay, so then he
Why are you
addressed.
silent?
Ooh. So he goes to address all of the vices that he talked about. He says, all right, I'm yet unknown to women, which means that he's a virgin. So obviously the first thing that he says about being lusty isn't true. He's faithful. It says, you know, he wouldn't ever betray anybody. And my first false speaking was this upon myself. I really am at my country's command. And so then he says, with Seward and 10,000 warlike men, we're already getting ready to head to Scotland. So, you know, this plan is already in place. Macduff is really confused, just like the readers are supposed to be. And he says such welcome and unwelcome things are all at once. So obviously that's a paradox.
Such welcome and unwelcome things at once, 'tis hard to reconcile.
Well, more anon. Comes the king forth, I pray you?
Aye, sir, there are a crew of wretched souls that stay his cure. Their malady convinces the great assay of art, but at his touch such sanctity hath heaven given his hand, they presently amend.
I thank you, doctor.
So this section is where Shakespeare's trying to set up a contrast between Scotland and England. So he's going to start to talk about the King of England. And like I said, it's for the purpose of comparing him to Macbeth. Also, keep in mind, Shakespeare is British, and so he's writing in England, and so he's, for his audience, trying to kind of like champion England. And so that's part of what's about to happen.
What's the disease he means?
It is called the Evil, a most miraculous work in this good king, which often, since my here remain in England, I have seen him do. How he solicits heaven himself best knows, but strangely visited people, all swollen and ulcerous, pitiful to the eye, the mere despair of surgery he cures, hanging a golden stamp about their necks, put on with holy prayers. And 'tis spoken to the succeeding royalty he leaves the healing benediction. With this strange virtue, he hath a heavenly gift of prophecy, and sundry blessings hang about his throne that speak him full of grace.
So what they're saying about the King of England is basically that he is has the ability to heal, almost like a Christ figure, right? Like everything about him is so great. He's such a great king. It talks about grace and heavenly blessing. So he's trying to set up this idea that like the King of England is good and Macbeth is evil. So we've talked before about, in the end of all of this, it's going to come down to a battle between good and evil and sort of different levels of that. So this is one of those levels of good and evil.
See, who comes here?
My countryman, but yet I know him not.
My ever-gentle cousin, welcome hither.
I know him now. Good God, betimes remove the means that make us strangers. Sir, amen.
Stands Scotland where it did?
Alas, poor country, almost afraid to know itself. It cannot be called our mother, but our grave, where nothing but who knows nothing is once seen to smile, where sighs and groans and shrieks that rend the air are made, not marked, where violent sorrow seems a modern ecstasy. The dead man's knell is there scarce asked for who, and good men's lives expire before the flowers in their caps, dying or ere they sicken.
Oh, relation. Too nice, and yet too true.
Okay, so Ross comes in, and remember, he's coming right from Scotland. He was near Macduff's castle, so he knows about what's happened to Macduff's family. So that's why he's there to tell them.
What's the newest grief? That of an hour's age doth hiss the speaker. Each minute teems a new one.
How does my wife?
Why, well.
And all my children?
Well, too.
The tyrant has not battered at their peace?
No. They were well at peace when I did leave them.
So he
But
means
not a
that they're
niggard
dead.
of your speech. How goest?
So he doesn't know how to say it, but if you think about what the word peace means, like technically you could say that they're at peace. They're dead.
When I came hither to transport the tidings, which I have heavily borne, there ran a rumor of many worthy fellows that were out, which was to my belief witness the rather, for that I saw the tyrant's power afoot. Now is the time of help. Your eye in Scotland would create soldiers, make our women fight, to doff their dire distresses. Be it their comfort, we are coming thither. Gracious England hath lent us good seaward and 10,000 men, an older and a better soldier none that Christendom gives out. Would I could answer this comfort with the like, but I have words that would be howled out in the desert air, where hearing should not latch them.
What concern they? The general cause? Or is it a fee grief due to some single breast?
No mind that's honest, but in it shares some woe, though the main part pertains to you alone.
So talking about Macduff, the worst part of this is for you.
If it be mine, keep it not from me. Quickly let me have it.
Let not your ears despise my tongue forever, which shall possess them with the heaviest sound that ever yet they heard.
Hum. I guess at it.
Your castle is surprised. Your wife and babes savagely slaughtered. To relate the manner were on the quarry of these murdered deer to add the death of you.
All right, so if Ross finally tells him, that your family's been murdered.
Merciful heaven. What, man? Ne'er pull your hat upon your brows? Give sorrow words. The grief that does not speak whispers the o'erfraught heart and bids it break.
My children too.
Wife, children, servants, all that could be found.
And I must be from thence. My wife killed too.
I have said. Be comforted. Let's make us medicines of our great revenge to cure this deadly grief.
All right, so, the revenge obviously is going to kill Macbeth now.
He has no children. All my pretty ones. Did you say all? Oh, hell kite. All? What, all my pretty chickens and their dam at one fell swoop? I shall do so.
Oh, shoot, I skipped this part. So Malcolm's advice to Macduff is dispute it like a man. So, again, take what's just happened to you and fight like a man. And we've talked obviously a lot about gender, but now pay attention to what Macduff says. It's really important.
But I must also feel it as a man. I cannot but remember such things that were most precious to me. Did heaven look on, it would not take their part. Sinful Macduff, they were all struck for thee, not that I am, not for their own demerits, but for mine, fell slaughter on their souls. Heaven rest them now.
Be this the whetstone of your sword. Let grief convert to anger. Blunt not the heart, enrage it.
So, yeah, I'm going to fight, he says, but I also have to feel it too, right? They were his family, and he knows it's his fault, right? If he hadn't have left, this probably wouldn't have happened. Again, Malcolm keeps coming at him, fight, be a man, be a man. And Macduff says,
oh, I could play the woman with mine eyes and braggarts with mine.
So, woman with mine eyes means to cry.
But, gentle heavens, cut short all intermission, front to front, being thou this fiend of Scotland and myself, within my sword's length, set him. If he scape, heaven forgive him too.
This tune goes manly. Come, go we to the king. Our power is ready. Our lack is nothing but our leave. Macbeth is ripe for shaking, and the powers above put on their instruments. Receive what cheer you may. The night is long that never finds the day.
Okay, so now they're going to go and fight. It's going to be a battle between ultimately Macduff and Macbeth, which, we saw coming because of the similarity in name. And then Malcolm says, receive what cheer you may. The night is long that never finds the day. We know that's a heroic couplet. And the night is long that never finds the day. So remember, we talked also about day and night being at odds and battling. Lady Macbeth said that at one point. So this is the beginning of their battle, right? The battle of good and evil. Oh my word, that was a long scene. All right, so then that's the end of Act 4. On to Act 5.